3.
Welcome to Moms in a Huddle. Welcome back. I'm Jillian, one of the hosts for Moms in a Huddle. I am super excited about today. Before we get into that, I am the mother of 3 boys, Mackenzie, Jonathan, and Robert. My middle son, Jonathan, happens to play for, look, why people calling me at 7 o'clock? They know I'm on Moms in a Huddle. Anyway,
Exactly.
my son, Jonathan, plays Division I basketball at University of Michigan. But again, I'm
No,
here.
he don't.
Oh my
He's
God.
not at the University of Michigan. Jill.
My son plays for the Badgers, University of West. We're going to have to edit that. University of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Go Badgers, number 25. Jesus
That's okay.
is Lord. And
That's
so
okay.
that's why we're having this conversation, because we just want to make sure that moms are in a huddle with us. And Erica is my super duper co-host.
Yes. Hi, I'm Erica Morgan. I am the mother of the Samaj Morgan, number 0 on the University of Michigan. Go Blue.
He's on the Badgers. He doesn't play for the Badgers.
He don't play for the Badgers. He does play for University of Michigan. He is in his 3rd season. I'm also the mom of Tyler, my eldest son. And, we have great boys, good boys. So for the most part, me and Jillian is connected because of our boys majority of the time. We were at basketball when our boys played with the family. So our connection since 4th grade. Yes. So our connection is long.
Yeah. So Erica, we have a special guest tonight, Todd Ramasar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Todd. Todd is the founder, the president, and CEO of Life Sports Agency. Life Sports Agency is actually one of the leading global sports media and technology firms based out of California, but they specialize in athlete representation. And they just happen to represent somebody I know.
Yeah, I think his name is Jonathan Blackwell. Not only has Todd, wait a minute, this is what I was very impressed by. I think Todd has negotiated over $1 billion in contracts for NBA stars like Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Kevon Looney, and Thomas Bryant. But he is now representing one of the greats to come up, our Jonathan Blackwell, and he's basically helping him with career strategies, different things, navigating NIL, which is so key in this dispensation.
Well, we want to, without further ado, we want to welcome Todd into the huddle. Welcome to the huddle, Todd.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Jillian and Erica.
Thank you. Asked our guest to say, can you just say, I'm in the huddle?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. Well, Todd, as Erica mentioned, you represent Jonathan and a lot of parents, not just Glenn and I. I'm assuming a lot of parents are listening, and they'll listen to either this live recording or when we post it out. And so with all the change and the challenges happening around name, image, and likeness, or NIL, why does it matter that college athletes, student athletes have professional representation? Why is it more important now than ever?
Well, if you look at the changing landscape, and both of you as mothers of current student athletes, both at Wisconsin and Michigan, is these schools, especially schools in the Big Ten or some of the bigger conferences, they're putting quite a bit of resources around their athletic departments with general managers, with attorneys and legal counsel that are specializing now in these contracts that are being put in front of current or soon to be student athletes entering college. And now more than ever, you want to have representation, at least credible representation, to be able to ask the right questions, to understand those contracts, and to advise the families and those student athletes so that they're not pressured into just accepting what's been put in front of them.
Yeah,
That's good. And you know what? With this landscape changing, even with laws trying to come into place, while we talked about the Scores Act, but I will say, when you're talking about going into these spaces, Todd, and for those young athletes and parents who think that they can probably handle it themselves, right? What are some of the biggest risks of going alone when you're going into the room to talk, as relates to compliance, under evaluation, or just missed opportunities that you kind of assist these players in when you're in the huddle with them?
Well, it's you have to look at it. It's very niche, and the fact that we represent so many student athletes at different institutions in different conferences year over year since its inception, you get to see how the language is evolving as well.
Mhm.
So having that skill set, it's not, and I say this respectfully to any legal counsel, but taking it to say a family attorney that isn't in the space, no different than an agent that isn't in the space, they're not going to be as familiar with some of the terminology or, again, nuance that's being presented there in the contracts now that there's revenue sharing with the colleges, let alone know what, every year there's a different market, but also know what the rate would be for a specific student athlete coming into college, if they're top 100, top 20, top 50, top 25 with certain accolades versus a player that's in the transfer portal. So all those things, factor in as to why, again, a student athlete should have, again, credible representation, going into those conversations with, one institution or several.
Oh, that's great. I mean, Todd, you started Life Sports Agency. Tell us a little bit about your background, and I really want you to shine the light on that, because there are a lot of agents, there are a lot of agencies, there are new ones popping up. You said, for example, you've been not only representing college athletes, you certainly represent NBA players, but you have a great landscape, a great team that knows, as you said, knows the language. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of Life Sports Agency? I want to make sure that people understand what you do. Again, I gave you a brief introduction, but can you tell us more about what your organization does and your agency does?
Yes. So this is my 26th year now in the representation business. Wow. Obviously, in terms of representing NBA and professional basketball players, both domestic in the NBA and NBA G League, as well as some of the top markets internationally, in some of the top markets in Europe, in Asia, and even Australia. Fast forward, I worked for some prominent firms in the past and agents. I established Life Sports Agency in its current iteration in 2017. And the reason I did that is I wanted to establish a firm taking into consideration all of the conversations that I had with past teammates that turned pro during my time at UCLA that I later ended up representing. And then also my current athletes that I represented, in terms of what are the factors that are most important to them from their representation in matters that are most important to them. And then taking my expertise and relationships within sports and entertainment, but even beyond in business, and wrapping that up in a service that could then be provided to the athletes that starts with education. And then you'll hear me say player development, which everyone's familiar with the terminology in football or basketball and other sports, but you'll hear me say that player development is human development. So for me, it was always having those conversations, again, with clients, but also I always say having conversations with my 19-year-old self to get a bit of understanding on how young people look at people that have experience that are older, and making sure that when we take high-level information like some of the topics we're discussing tonight, it's distilling them in ways that student athletes or young people can understand, to empower them so that they're not, everyone makes mistakes, but mitigating the level of their mistakes that they'll make along the way, so that they won't have to learn necessarily from those mistakes to where it'll either cost them money or opportunities as they grow within college sports or in college beyond, whether they're professionals or in the business world.
I like that. And then, you know, since the landscape has changed, you said you started in 2017 Life Sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, during that time, NIL wasn't, you know, the guys couldn't get paid. How were you able to cultivate the new landscape that started in 2022, I believe, where the athletes are now able to get paid? So now you specialize 26 years, you started in 2017, but now we have a new landscape that's evolving. And here's the thing, the floodgates are open. How do you now cultivate it into your business and help families really navigate this? Because it's still evolving.
Right.
It is. And it's going to continue to evolve into what we don't know.
Right.
and when the end, you know, will come of whatever it's evolving into. But I mean, as we all know, we talk about sports, but really business has evolved. I think for the three of us in all three industries that we've been involved with, there's always this evolution that happens, you know, whether it be technology or so forth that's introduced or times change. So I see it no different with the NCAA. The beauty about it is taking what I've found success with a lot of my professional athletes, because, you know, most of my professional athletes I've recruited when they're in the year that they're making a decision to turn pro or professional, or they're on the radar. And during that, say, pre-draft process, we have several months, and even that year that they're playing, to build that rapport and to start that education process.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, certain habits are already established that in some ways that we have to rectify or correct before they're professionals to ensure that they're really on the right track going forward. With NIL now representing student athletes in college and high school and getting to know their families intimately, it gives us an opportunity, at least for Life Sports Agency, myself and the other agents and staff, to really start on the ground floor of cultivating that relationship, but really educating the athletes, especially when you see that they have immense talent. Right. So, you know, again, the player development is human development. So on the human side, you know, understanding where they're at in their life.
Yeah.
And not taking that for granted, you know, having a conversation for me as a representative of a 17-year-old versus a 21-year-old in college is completely different.
Completely.
And I have to, and I'm a parent myself. Yeah. So how I explain things or how I distill the conversation in ways that the 17-year-old could understand it, that will impact him when he's 21. It's completely different. And then obviously, depending on where they're at, you know, in some cases, if they're not an American, they're not in the US, if they're Canadian or international, is factoring all of those attributes to best represent the athlete. I always say that I'm an architect. A family coming to me or a student athlete is sharing with me, because I'll ask them questions, sharing with me their vision of the future.
Yeah.
Within that vision, I'm here. I say an architect because they're telling me what home they want to build.
Yeah, right? You're creating it.
It's not my home.
Right.
In a lot of ways, it's not their parents' home. It's their home. So what style they want, you know, how many square feet, where do they want the home built? I'm taking all those things in terms of the vision they have for their life and career, and I'm reverse engineering it to today, whether that's in high school or college, whether that's freshman year or senior year, and helping bring that to life so that when they look back or reflect 20 years, 30 years from now, that house has come to life and it's even better than expected is the goal.
I love that.
That is so, because I think about your agency, and you just mentioned it, you 17-year-old, someone from another country. Trust is a big factor. right? And not just Todd, you mentioned you have other agents, right? So not only do they have to know and trust you, they have to trust the agents. Tell us a little bit about how you establish that. You mentioned that you asked them questions, but that's one of the factors and one of the reasons why we started Moms in a Huddle, because I was like,
Yeah.
this is all new. What the heck is going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
only involved in sports only because I married an athlete and I have 3 boys. I don't know anything about sports, right? And so when someone comes into your life, whether it's a coach or an agent, they become a part of your family. You talked about being an architect. That architect brings tools, they bring other people to build the house. So can you talk a little bit about your team, the team that you built within your agency? So obviously they work with you, but you also have other pieces with it, other tools and resources that the family has access.
Yeah. So the most important thing for any great company or organization is starts with culture. So I always say my staff is a reflection of me and I'm a reflection of them. So it starts with that culture and that ethos. That's why I named the agency Life Sports, because it's more than just the sport in terms of our clients in the sport they play. It's their life. And it could impact them in so many ways, even outside of them making it as professionals. But within the organization is everyone brings a level of expertise that they're responsible for. So whether that's Alex Starshis in marketing or Oven Yao in terms of communications and PR, or some of the others, or Dominique. That's handling client relations and so forth. It's really bringing this team together to service our clients in the best way possible. So whether they're NIL in college or they're professional athletes, again, bringing that vision to life, everyone is educating the athlete and we're all following this plan. They're, in a lot of ways, the subcontractor. I might be the general contractor.
Right.
Contractors
Yeah.
that really experts at what they do. So again, help bring this, vision to life that the athlete gets to experience over time. And it's not just about having the relationship with me. It's more so about having the relationship with the team and going from there. Or I should say growing from there.
Right.
Wow. Well, I will say when it comes to picking the right agent for you or the right agent for a family, you gave a great example about an architect coming in building, right? And I'm so in agreement with you. Even though I'm an attorney, I'm not an expert totally. I'm learning as I go with the legal things of what's happening with the landscape. What would you recommend to a family out there that have multiple sports agencies coming at them to say, I want to represent your child? And how can a family select the right agency? Because I'm going to give you this scenario. Here's the scenario I want to give you. You have a kid that is at one of the Big Ten schools or even bigger schools, right? And they see agents are now seeing and hitting your kid up. And then they refer it to the parent. You got 10 agents like, hey, we're for your kid. We're going to take you out to dinner. We want to do all these things, right? Everything is glitz and glam, right? But then how are you able to really select the right agency for you? Because everyone is telling you that you're great, right? Everyone's telling you, oh, you're probably going to go and do all these great things. How can a family navigate that and really select the right agency for themselves?
It's a great question, Erica, and everyone is different. What, in my opinion, it starts with having a list of questions that you can ask that agency or several agencies in the interview process.
Okay.
And in a lot of ways is I always live by the acronym of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. If an agent is approaching me, or any business professional for that matter, what is their track record and their reputation in whatever it is as a parent or a student athlete that you want? Now, within that, if it's a credible organization, validating that the agent has actually done the work. Have they seen that pro athlete that they said they represent from the very beginning to the very end of their career, right? Did they negotiate if they didn't represent them along the whole way, at what point did they sign the client, and did they do those contracts that they? Because it's sometimes perception is reality. If I say I represent this superstar athlete that's is maybe has $500 million in contracts negotiated or earnings over their career, if I say I represent that athlete, the assumption is that I negotiated that $500 million.
Right.
But if I ask the question, it could be left to that perception, even though I might have picked up that athlete 2 years ago when they're year 20 of their career. So it's really asking the questions and being diligent. A question I get all the time is, Todd, are you going to be the agent, or is there going to be another agent assigned to me? There's no right or wrong answer. It's understanding how that dynamic will best suit the student athlete, or in this case, if you're a parent, for your son or daughter. And then also understand that you have the power as a parent or as a student athlete.
Yeah.
I work for my clients, for each of them, and all of them are unique in terms of the vision they have for their life, right? They may be influenced or influenced in terms of seeing other athletes professionally, or in this case, college NILs, hearing what another student athlete has made at another institution. It's my job to really educate them as to the circumstances. The other thing is like understanding, my tagline for my agency is for what comes next.
I love that.
I like that.
It's like, it's no different again from, if you're a student choosing a college, you're choosing a college, a specific college, not because it's Harvard or Stanford. You're choosing a specific college because biology versus like pursuing something in the medical field is different than choosing something in finance.
Correct.
My point in bringing that up is when you're choosing an agent, or when you're choosing a school, or everything in between, you have to understand how that fits within your long-term vision for yourself. And having someone that is not speaking as an agent, as I say, not speaking in theory, but speaking from experience. Because there's a big difference. When you're speaking in theory, I tend to think of someone's a guinea pig, or you're trying it out with someone for the first time. And when it's the first time, you may not get the outcome you want. And in some cases, that could be catastrophic for students in terms of getting to the ultimate outcome that they want.
No, that's good. I love that analogy and that story you talked about where assuming something. So you asked a question and they have represented a particular client, but when did you represent that client, and were you engaged in that deal? That was very enlightening. So I just want to talk a little bit about NIL, and we can just move on to another topic. So you're working with college athletes who are really building their brands. They should be at least building their brands while staying compliant with the NCAA and the school's rules. The rules are different. NCAA's rules are changing again with the Scores Act and everything else. So how do you help them balance that, like maximizing value, right? There's a window of opportunity, right? But not crossing over regulatory lines and making sure, to your point, educating, whether it's 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old. Yes, NIL exists, but here's the rules and regulations. Here's some things you cannot do, right? And so can you talk about how you make sure that they balance that and educate them on these are some things that you can do within these boundaries?
Yeah, so you said it, Jillian, it's education. We have to educate the student athletes, because the other nuance, it depends if it's high school versus colleges, you're working within the state laws in terms of what they allow.
Right.
As you know, as parents, there's hearsay. So you may talk to another parent that doesn't understand the rules, or another student athlete, and they've signed with an agent where otherwise they're unable to sign with that athlete. Or, for example, it came up recently in the state of Missouri. if you're in the state of in Missouri in high school, you cannot, and you play for the high school association, you can't sign with an NIL agent unless you're committed to a college institution within the state of Missouri. But if you're outside of the high school association in a prep school, you're otherwise allowed to sign with a NIL representative.
Right.
And within that too, there's also, making sure that the agent is registered within that state, is also compliant with the university in terms of registration. There's a number of factors that play into that education, as you mentioned, Jillian, for the student athlete. But it always comes back to educating them. And then, as I mentioned, being an architect, or using that analogy, is what is a student, because there's student athletes that are taking advantage of in college that they're full scholarship, their academics, as well as the opportunity that is NIL. And it's there after 4 or 5 years of college, and they've maximized it.
Right.
Then there's other student athletes that are coming into college with professional aspirations. So in terms of building their brand, where the first scenario I mentioned, it could be a land grab in terms of, I'm building a brand, but there's all these opportunities. I'm going to take advantage of them because otherwise I'm not going pro. So why not?
Right.
Whereas if you're thinking of things as a professional athlete, you have to be very meticulous about brands that you're associating with or endorsing.
Right.
Because there's certain brands or certain areas that these sectors of business or that you could say for these brands that are still taboo. So whether it's alcohol, gambling, you have to really educate the athlete on that nuance to ensure that they're not saying yes and otherwise endorsing a brand that could otherwise taint their overall brand.
Yeah.
The other thing is, building a brand takes time. I think in our society, everything is being microwaved and you want it quick.
Right.
Building a true brand takes time.
It does.
Building a brand, a great brand in sports, is contingent on your performance as an individual and as brands want to associate and people want to associate with winners. And not just winners on the court, winners off the court. Winning being a professional, being courteous. And both of you talked about you both have raised amazing sons. Like that's what you want people to say, whether sons or daughters, that will add to their brand building, whether it be in high school, college, and eventually their marketing and endorsements as a professional athlete.
Man, I mean, Todd, you just said so much there. Just rich information. It's this guy every time we go to church and he says, that's rich. You said some rich information there. I will want to ask you a question about, before we move on to other things. I think Jillian, we discussed a little of this earlier this year, but let's break down the phrase that a lot of people talk about that we don't fully understand, called testing the waters. What does that mean in NIL or draft preparation? And what are the compliance traps that athletes should watch for? Because here's the thing. I wish in football that were like that. But, football players have to wait 3 years before you're even probably invited to the combine. And then if you have eligibility, you may want to stay around another year. But what I love about testing the waters in the NBA is, hey, teams be able to see you, but explain to us and our, everyone that's viewing, the testing the waters phrase, and how should we better understand that as it relates to NIL and preparing for the draft?
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity for student athletes that have remaining eligibility to, that's why they say testing the waters, test to see, enter their name in the draft while maintaining their eligibility so that they're drafted. that rule was in place prior to NIL.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the opportunity that is NIL, what we're seeing is student athletes aren't making poor decisions to prematurely turn pro.
Right.
Yes.
Waters in the sense of how we assist our clients in testing the waters. Jonathan just did it this past year. Is again educating them as to the business of professional sports, in this case the NBA,
Mm-hmm.
the development aspect on the court and off the court, because I find it's for our clients is helping train their mind so that they're not caught off guard or surprised when they're confronted with certain things once they're pros, or even if they decide to return back to college.
Right.
In a lot of cases, the young men we work with have good work habits or work ethics. It's introducing them that work ethic is not at the level that
Wow.
once they're professionals.
Yeah.
It's also teaching them about, in my case, the psychology of entering the draft. Players get stage fright.
Mm.
It's understandable because they're young men that are otherwise now thrust in front of 100 to 200 plus NBA personnel that are interviewing them, evaluating them, and it's the first time that they've been in that type of setting once they get to the combine to be evaluated from that perspective, or even fly into that team city to work out for that NBA team.
Who is Andre? I'm sorry. Andre Charity, I don't know who he is, but he's given a lot of little insight and nuggets on your points, Todd. He's like giving you are bringing him up. He's like, yes, he's giving little nuggets. So I'm hoping this is helping our community. Thank you, Andre. We appreciate you.
And he follows is the great guy.
Yeah,
okay.
The other thing about testing the waters, at least for student athletes playing basketball, is you have to sign with representation that is certified through the NCAA. What the NBA, MBPA, and what the NCAA have done is they've set up what's called the Undergraduate Advisory Committee, the UAC. So any student athlete in basketball that is looking to test the waters, they have to apply to the UAC following their collegiate season to otherwise get this report that the UAC, that committee is comprised of NBA personnel that will tell them where they're projected in the draft before the process even begins. Now the student athlete can decide whether they still want to test the waters or forego testing the waters and back to school. But when they get the feedback from the UAC, it's otherwise broken down into percentages as lottery pick, first round pick, top of the second round, bottom of the second round to undrafted. Those clients or those student athletes get a good idea of, again, where their what their status is or projection before the process even truly starts by the time we get into May. So that's why you want credible representation to otherwise. That's what's up. Always good to see Glenn on
here. What up, Doe? That's a Detroit thing. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But again, that's where the nuance is, because if you don't understand the rules, and for example, you sign with an agent that is otherwise not NCAA certified, you could put the remaining eligibility at risk.
Wow.
Really testing the waters is, again, through experience, educating the student athlete as to what life is in the NBA, exposing them to high-level trainers in the weight room, exposing them to high-level NBA coaches.
That's awesome.
Exposing them to high-level business professionals that would otherwise support them once they do turn pro, or in Jonathan's case, supporting and cheering him on as he remains at Wisconsin and is slated to have a huge year based on all of the work that he put put in spring and summer.
Wow.
Yeah. You talk about students having stage fright. I remember going down to California. I was like, oh my God, it's a lot. It was extremely intimidating, nerve-wracking. Basketball games when my son plays are nerve-wracking, but just to see all the Tims in the room, watching, it looks as though there was like statisticians there taking down names, and I was like, but Jonathan certainly appreciated the opportunity, learned a lot. I believe he came back a different young man, and so certainly testing what certainly had its advantages for my son, and we are certainly appreciative for that opportunity.
Jillian, you could talk about it. It'd be great to get your perspective. Did you feel at the end of that process, your son was different in a lot of ways?
Oh, absolutely. I think he had a better appreciation and focus going back for his third year. I think he gained some great feedback, even being in that environment with others that were going to the NBA draft, because a lot of them not going through actually went to the NBA. So spending time with them, so he established some great friendships. But seeing him afterwards, his focus, his dedication. I mean, Jonathan is a gym rat. He's going to stay in the gym anyway. But it changed him. I mean, even when he comes home, Mom, I don't have time for that. He'll tell me before he flies home to Michigan, I'm not meeting with nobody. I don't have time. I'm trying to line me up to do all this stuff. I have to get in the gym. And so he did that prior to, but his focus has changed. I can tell you right now, if I go to Life 360, my son is either at his apartment or he's in the gym. And so he did that before, but his appreciation of putting the dedicated time to work out and work on his craft has certainly changed because of that experience. And he's eating differently. He doesn't eat dairy. That came from him spending time there. He's not eating dairy. He's like, I can't. Now, keep in mind, Todd, I've been saying this to my son for the longest. You just eat your body. But when he came back from that experience, different child. And I won't even say a different man. He came back.
And you said, I was going to say something that you just touched on. What I found through the 26 years, and I say this to all the young men that I've worked with, usually when they start the pre-draft process, they're quote unquote boys. When they weeks to 2 months, they are men. Like there's a noticeable change in terms of like, and not just in terms of like diet, nutrition, or habits. Like it accelerates maturation.
Yeah. Again, like I said, Jonathan came out of the womb an athlete. All the time we took all three to the park. Jonathan came with a backpack stuffed with, and I opened it up. It was stuffed with a Nerf football, Nerf basketball, and a Nerf baseball. And I said to him, "Why do you have?" He said, "Ma, I just want to be ready. I just want to be ready." So he came, and I got other stories. But when he came back from California and that experience, you talking about somebody that was laser focused. He was appreciative of it, changed his diet, changed the way he talks, his workout habits. So from my perspective as a mom, I'm sure my husband can say a few things because again, I think mothers and fathers look at their children a little bit differently. Glenn's probably going to look at all the X's and the O's. I look at the heart, I look at his heart like change. Like he used to say that basketball was his girlfriend. Basketball came his wife. Like
he got married.
He was married to
her. Well, I will say what an opportunity to be going in front of the coaches and them to remember you the next year that you come. Maybe, and I like that. Like I said, I really wish football had sometimes. They have a mechanism, but not like basketball, because basketball really allows you to get in there, get in front of the coaches, let them see your work ethic, and then come and get a second bite at the apple the next year or whenever you're eligible. Is it after 2 or 3 years? How do you get to test the waters? Is it your first, second year, or can you do it after each season? How does that work?
You have up to 2 times to test the water throughout, obviously before your eligibility runs out. the
Okay.
third time you're automatically in. So if someone hypothetically tested their freshman year after their sophomore year, if they did it again their junior year, they automatically have to stay in the draft and forego their remaining eligibility for
Wow.
basketball.
Yeah.
But Erica, you bring up great points, because no different than Jillian describing her own son, or even me seeing that maturation and difference in Jonathan as an example.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, the executives see that.
Mm.
An agent's job, in my opinion, or a representative's job is, the first thing is, agents don't draft players, football or basketball. NFL teams do, NBA teams do. They draft.
Right.
Our job is to objectively get the information from them, or know what they're looking at even before they know it,
Mm-hmm.
presenting that to the client. In this case, it was Jonathan, to help him to help put him on a platform that is otherwise the draft process, so NBA teams could see him in that light.
Mm-hmm.
So in the NBA, and I'm assuming it would be the same in the NFL, is by giving them that platform, it will otherwise allow those NBA executives and scouts to see the student athlete in ways that otherwise they did not see them in their college system,
Yeah.
at the University of Michigan, or in
Yeah.
basketball at the University of Wisconsin. And that's key, because sometimes you don't get to see the true talent of an individual within a system. And that's no fault of a program or the student athlete. It's just, it's a team sport. So you have to fit within that team to find success. But otherwise, you go from college, or you're transferring to another program, or you're going from college to the pros, you're entering a different system. So that draft process of testing, I feel, puts the student athlete in front of those NBA executives and decision makers, so that they could see them outside of their college system. And when the student athlete decides to go back to school, those NBA teams get to compare notes from, say, their freshman to sophomore year, sophomore to junior year, junior to senior year, to really show that growth and see if the student athlete actually worked on the areas that they otherwise needed to improve on, returning back to school to position them for the subsequent draft in the future.
Wow. I love that. That's beautiful. And I will say, with Michigan, because my son is in his going into his third season, scouts have already given from different teams that Michigan says, hey, this is what we noticed about your son. This is where he's projected to go. This is what it is. But he has 1 year eligibility. They didn't tell us that, but we know he has 1 more year eligibility. We need to see how that go. But just to know what they're thinking about you is a beautiful thing, because although it's not my dream to be a football player or a basketball player, these kids have dreams. They want to get there, right? Yeah. And that's what makes your job, Todd, so key, to make sure, almost like everybody you deal with is trying to get to that path of the NBA or whatever it is, which makes you so important. I will say this. I asked you the question earlier about how to know to pick a good agency or a good agent to represent your kid. One of the things that I'm noticing, even within other families that I'm hearing, is all these agents will come. Your kid is the greatest, and as long as your kid makes the biggest plays. But some families are paying attention to, when your kids are not making the biggest plays, who's contacting them and who's silent. Is it only about the money? So when you have a kid that you've sat down with their family, you're trying to recruit them into your agency, how is it that you let them know you're with them through the ebbs and the flows, not just the flows, but also the ebbs?
The only way to do it is pointing to other clients that you've done it with before, that otherwise the client could speak on my behalf or the agency's behalf. Or in some cases where, life happens and something becomes public and the client has made it through it with our support. I always say talk is cheap. So I could say all the right things, or somebody else could say all the right things, but who's lived and breathed it? To your point, you're right. This is one of the few industries, as business professionals, that, and Jillian, I think, mentioned it, or you did, which is it's a very personal business. So most of the time, if and I say this respectfully, Erica, with you being an attorney,
Yeah.
it's very transactional in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The client comes in and they have a certain matter that needs to be addressed by legal counsel, and you do the job, and you might see them. You might be on retainer or so forth, but otherwise, you might handle it and never see.
Right.
And you're not talking in between, about anything personal. It's all business. In this business, as a representative, it's a very personal business, because even though the client is the 18, 19, 21-year-old or 30-year-old or so forth, you're constantly engaged with family, with the parents, with the girlfriend, the wife, whoever the case may be. And that's why it's so important to pick the right agent, because no different than I say that my staff is a reflection of me, so are my clients. But in reciprocity, I should be a reflection of them as well in terms of the professionalism. And I tell prospects all the time, because in the recruiting process, I have to manage expectations in the very beginning, because oftentimes, especially early on, there could be tough conversations. But I'm coming from a place of care and wanting to see my athletes be their best selves. So I'll tell families, like, or to the student athlete, if you're okay with being mediocre, we're not the agency for you.
Right.
We don't mean like we're judging you in terms of, everybody has to be a max player. Do you want to be the best version of yourself? If you want to be the best version of yourself, then we're the agency for you, because we're going to help you hold yourself accountable to the higher standard.
Yeah.
During the process. But that is so key, because look, everyone wants to make it to the NBA. Everyone wants to make it to the NFL.
Of course.
It's one thing to make it, having your foot in the door. It's another to break the door down and have a long, successful career, yourself up, and your family and your future family up for generations. That's what it's about. That's how we measure success in different forms for our clients.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So I wanted to have a conversation around challenges and risks. Obviously, they're not obviously, but have you ever had a challenge where you are representing two clients going for the same position? Like, how do you balance all of that? Like, or interested in the same team? That's a risk. But I'm certain out of X amount of years you've been doing this, I'm sure you've ran across that before. How do you balance that?
It's just have a candid conversation, because the reality is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Remember, the agent is not the person, it's the team.
Right.
Although two clients feel that, okay, we're both 6'5", we play the guard position, scores and the stats are slightly off, but they're projected in the same range, like the same team. Well, the agent, or any agent, isn't telling them to take one player over the other. It's up to the team to determine who is the fit, because no two people are alike. Even identical twins have different personalities, right?
That's true.
So it's going to be up to the team to determine who the best fit is for their organization. And I tell my clients too, is go where you're wanted. So say I'm representing two clients, and this client is adamant about going to the team that wants this client. Well, I will tell them candidly, no, the team wants this player. Similar platforms.
Throw it out there.
Similarly, like in similar ways, have played well up to your potential.
Right.
But the team is choosing that player. You don't want to convince the organization otherwise that, not that you're a better fit, but try to convince them that you're the choice. No, go where you're wanted.
That's right.
In most cases are not. It's no different than college. Your son ended up at Michigan, Erica. Jillian's son ended up at Wisconsin. They went where they were wanted. And look at how it's
Yes. Todd,
so
you are so right. He had 22 offers. Yeah, he actually was deciding between Ole Miss and the SEC, or do I go to the Big Ten? So when you're thinking about it, we looked at who wanted him.
Yeah.
Whenever the head coach come to your house and eat breakfast with you, that's the difference. Your head coach, your OC, and your position coach. When you start seeing people come, you're right. Everybody else was noise, but you only can go to one college. And you are, when I say you are head on,
Was there a college that wasn't on his list that he really wanted on his list? That comes to mind?
that if I can think back, I would say maybe back then he may would have wanted an offer because the offer thing. I got an offer. I would believe he may have wanted an offer maybe from Alabama. He did not get an offer from Alabama.
So can you imagine having 22 schools, including the University of Michigan, coming in and saying, "We want you," and him saying, or you saying, "No, I want Alabama."
Wow.
Yes.
Most families don't see it that way, but that's
how it looks. Oh my gosh, that is so true.
When the draft is a ranking no different than your ranking, in my opinion, coming out of your senior year in high school into college. I tell my clients all the time, it is a blank slate, a clean slate once you've entered into college or once you've entered into the pros.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you've done in the past.
Wow.
On what you're doing the moment you step into college practice or the moment you step into the NBA with the team you're drafted to in their practice.
Wow. And you're so right, Todd. One thing I can say from high school, everybody is the man at their high school. My son was the man. Michigan was great. And the funny thing with it is if he wanted to go to Alabama, he didn't say, but I think maybe he wanted an offer. We beat Alabama his first freshman year and became national champion. So he was a national champion his first year as a freshman, right?
Yeah.
And contributed too. And so what the situation is, then you don't have a quarterback the second year, then you go into your third year, we got a great quarterback, and he may got some issues that he's ebbing and flowing through. And it's one of those things where people will, me and Jillian did a show about this. You're only as good as your last basket and your last catch.
Yeah.
That's why you have to have the right people around you, and you have to be the hard worker for yourself, because this ain't that mom and daddy can save you from.
Yeah.
You have to love what you're doing. And this process is grueling and gruesome to families and kids. And it may not be as forgiving, and sometimes it's favorable, but you are so right. You want who wants you. And that's why we bring people like you on here to be real with the parents, because it's not me and Jillian that want to know this stuff. People be really wanting to know, how does this stuff look? Because everything looked great on TV, Todd, right? You get drafted, I'm drafted, we put our hat on in basketball, and then where do we go from here, right?
Man, it's tough.
Valuable information.
It's extremely valuable. Go ahead, Tom.
Because some people think they've made it once that their name is called. Like, it's really comes down to not being complacent, whether you're in high school, college, or the pros. Complacency is the number one killer.
Wow.
And just the other thing is the student athlete has to love the game in its purest sense because of the adversity that they will face. Everyone faces the adversity. It could be a major injury. It could be getting waived. It could be in a free agency where otherwise you're not getting the contract you want. It could be getting traded. You have to love your craft. Because otherwise, I know I could see right through someone that doesn't love it. I can tell by their habits. Or if we're saying, okay, we just had a 2-hour workout and weights. We have optional shooting tonight, optional, and they don't.
Yeah.
Ooh, that happens. Actually, yeah.
But that speak it, love it. Like they are anxious to get better, to absorb all the resources and integrate that into their game and their work habits. But the ones that don't, like, you can see right through them.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you say that. And my oldest son knows I talk about this. So My oldest son is 6'6", 6'7",
Ooh,
built like Adonis.
big boy.
He didn't love it. But my hubby, hope he's probably be listening, pushed him. I'm done. Middle son cried when he couldn't go to practice.
Right.
We were like, oh no, you didn't do your homework? No. Mom. My youngest loves it. We'll see. But you're right. It's embedded.
It has to be in you.
When they're small, you can see
It is. It's Jillian. It's when they're small.
When they're small.
Then when you start exposing them to the work, if they seek it and they're thriving, and they hit adversity and they keep picking themselves back up, that's when they.
Yeah. And even when you talked about grueling, so we like Erica said, we did a show about, parents staying cool when things aren't going. You hear folks talking about your child in the bleachers, or you keep your cool.
I failed the test.
But it can be grueling, but it's also grueling on the person's body. And when they get up, because we hear, the workout and we hear the games, but it is physically grueling on your body for you to get back up the next day. I got to go to practice. I got to go to. If it was me, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. But you have to absolutely love the game. I did have a question for you, and I love how this conversation is flowing. When we think about well, I asked you about representing, but I thought we talked about like risk. But what was one deal that almost fell apart? That you know, you don't have to mention a name, but a scenario. And what did you do to save it? Well, you were recruiting an individual, or they might have been looking at another agency.
Oh yeah, there's been several of those, but again, everyone is different, and there are good agents out there and advisors outside of Life Sports Agency and myself. But what I found, and I said it earlier, is when I come in to present, and Jillian, I've presented for you, is typically 2 to 3 hours, and hopefully it didn't feel like 2 to 3 hours, but we're covering everything from A to Z. Within covering everything from A to Z, no different than our conversation now, I am being completely honest and open and candid about the work.
Right.
The work. And I'll talk about, all the resources that we'll bring forth to an athlete and say, we're going to have fun, but it's work. Because what we're doing for our client athletes, our athlete clients, is instilling great habits so that once they enter college or the pros, they know how to distinguish good from bad. Because in a lot of times players will get into circumstances where they're working with their coaches or trainers and they have a great or high work ethic, but they're working on the wrong things.
Ooh.
Right? That's so if you're repetitively working on the wrong things, it's a problem. Wow. So getting back, Jillian, to your question, is what I've found is the clients, the clients, the actual players that may comment on the work in what I would take a negative way, they don't typically become our clients. And the correlation that I find is they typically don't have a great NBA career in a lot of cases. And as a staff, we talk about it just wasn't the right fit.
Wow.
And otherwise, we've lost high-level clients, because it wasn't the right fit. They found representation elsewhere that they felt was a better fit for them, and we wish them the best.
Right.
But, of course, the competitor in me is like, you may have found success there, but is it mediocre success?
Right.
Because that's the thing in this business on the NBA side,
or
even the side, is you judge success by the contract. Well, if somebody makes a $60 million deal, you're saying, wow, they found success. But what if their potential was 120 million over the same year? So that's what that's what how I judge or look at the industry, is how can we help our clients, again, achieve their highest form of success if they have that potential. And even if they don't get to 120, they get to 110 or 100.
Yeah.
It's 40 or 60 that otherwise they would have signed for if somebody wasn't holding them accountable, until that point of a transaction to get them that deal. And not only that, for what comes next, how do we take that and build on it to get to again and again and again until their retirement, and then they're set up for life beyond basketball or football in this case.
That's awesome.
When I hear what you're talking about, Todd, you remind me of this quote: "Success is that place in the road where preparation and opportunity meet, but too few people often recognize it because it is often disguised as what? Hard work."
Right.
And I think exactly what you're saying is the hard work and the love for the game. I remember when we were speaking with my son and even Jonathan, like your baby, when they would play basketball, Jonathan was just that dude. He had that it factor in basketball, right? And I thought about it, and you say, Jillian, how your baby going to the lab and he's working on those baskets and he's at the gym. I remember my son told us that Armand Ross St. Brown would catch almost 201 balls a day. He said, I'm going to catch 202. And when you get that in your head, so now he's learning, there are different things. He's going through ebbs and flow, even at this moment in his life, but he's in the lab. So hard work, the love for it really is going to get a lot of these kids to the next level, no matter what they experience in life.
Yeah.
Erica, you just nailed it, because once they're done and they take that acumen into business, find success as entrepreneurs or whatever it is that they pursue in business, because it's the same thing. I always tell my daughter, who's in volleyball and she has the bug in volleyball, she's 13, she'll be 14 later this week, is I push past the pain, the triple P, right? So, because that threshold becomes greater and greater every time you push through it, right? Push through that wall. But it's, again, it's you that's where I say we have to help train our clients' minds. So that when they're on that path, one is, I tell them, guys, it's a lonely path. Because it's hard work, Erica. It's like not only hard, like when you say hard, so let's talk about that. It's hard work. So I'm thinking about pushing past the pain of the hard work, the weight sessions, the court workouts, the workouts when everybody else is having a good time, the weekends, on vacation, whatever. But what about the hard work of you're doing all that and you're getting criticized? You're getting criticized on social media. You're getting criticized by the media. Your people are talking behind your back, like that aspect. So pushing past the pain or the hard work goes beyond just because we associate it with the physical side of things. But that's why I say you got to train the psychological side, the athlete, to make sure that you remind them before they experience that adversity that, you know what, my agent or my parents or my coaches, they talked about this. This was expected. I just have to push past this pain. I just have to. And I don't say that trying to be cliche. Like, that's real. That's life. Continue pursuing whatever it is that your goals, and keep your circle tight.
Absolutely.
And here's what we've learned as a family. It gets smaller. It's like a triangle. It's myself, my husband, and my son, right? This is the triangle. So as long as this triangle is not broken, we have that confidence. My son has that confidence. But it's amazing. You're like a prophetic sports agent, right? Because you're like, you made a statement just recently. You said, well, what about the noise, the pain, pushing past the pain? We're in a moment where, and I don't mind sharing, we're on Moms in a Huddle Top. We're real, okay? I'm just gonna tell you, Jillian's real, Erica's real. I'm so delivered from people and what they think about me, I don't care, right? But I do care to a point of being in a moment where how it is, they're almost wanting to call. My son dropped a couple balls as a receiver this year when he's never really dropped it, but he's learning a lot of different things in the system. It's like, bench him, sit him down. He don't need to play. Get him out of there. Who's what that Morgan? when here's the thing, not only does he catch the ball, he blocks. It's more aspects to being a receiver. You got to block. He's the punt returner. He has multiple things. And do we take it back? His freshman year, he was rookie of the year. He had 4 touchdowns. He won the Rose Bowl. He showed up for his team. They won the Big Ten championship. He had an 87-yard punt return. And they forgot about that because of the drop balls. And here's the thing. We're winning games. Get him out of there. And then everyone gets silent, or people are calling for his head, calling for him as if he done something wrong, but then forget about the yards that he got after the drop balls that was to a touchdown. The team won, like the teamwork. And it's like us having to tell him, don't go on social media, us staying off social media, us saying, because the next big play you have, here's what's going to happen. You're great, Samaj.
You're the man.
He had, I think it was at Central Michigan. He had the first receiving touchdown as the receiver from one of their highly recruited football players, Chris Underwood. Loved him, right? Oh, he's just great. Now all of a sudden, get off with his head. And I say that to say, just keep the same energy that you kept when there's no receivers. Samaj dropped the ball and he's not this, but he was great enough then. But he's not now. So me and my husband have really sat down and cultivated our circle to say, you know who you are. My son, he blocks the noise, but guess what he's doing? He's still working. And I say this to any mom out there, any dad out there, any family that is going through a moment of what in the heck is going on and how are we able to overcome it, right? Because people don't talk about it, Todd. So, you know? And the top fair weather fans.
Fair weather fans. Well, Erica, I love that you're bringing this up because it is real. The first thing is we can't be surprised by what you're experiencing because our society, and it happens to be in sports, is they build you up to
tear you down.
Ooh, geez.
So that was before. You know, your son ever picked up a football or Jonathan picked up a basketball. That is just the way things are. So getting back to something you said, Todd, we keep our circle tight. And I call it, you say noise, I call it the static, right? The white noise where, and here's, I'm really getting, I'm going to really articulate like the things I observe with my clients that I really care about them and want to see them win at the highest level in their families is. And I draw from personal experiences too, because parents, we can love our kids so much, we can become the static without even knowing.
Yeah.
So the job again, as an agent, I shouldn't even say agent, as an advisor, is there's a fine balance between advising and guiding a young person when they have a dream and giving them good advice. You see what I'm saying? Because sometimes what could be good advice as an adult and an expert, I am an expert at what I know.
Yes.
Give something with love, but it could be taken, it could either be taken as static or noise when that's not attention, or it could be taken as you don't believe in me, and now they're not taking good advice.
Wow.
That makes sense. It's like a parent.
Absolutely. Because you can shut them down or you can help them get built back up. And Todd, you say something so key. We actually saw a press conference today with the head coach, Sharon Moore, and I want to give a shout out, Go Blue, to you, Coach Moore, because the reporters were asking, with the receiver room, what are you going to do? He said, listen, Samaj had a drop ball, but he had big plays. Like he's needed on the team. And what happens is, it's like when your coaches have confidence in you, you don't just crush a kid when they're down or when you think they're down, because majority of the people talking ain't never played the game. Like Todd, I've never played basketball. I could never see it from your perspective. Jillian, you played basketball but gave it up on the first day. So my thing is, we're at a point in life where I like real agencies like Life Sports Agency that's going to sit their clients down and say, listen, we're a hardworking agency. If you want to work hard, we're probably for you. But if you don't, get that junk up out of here, right?
Correct.
Right.
Bottom line. And that's okay to say that. Be honest with people.
Right. And Erica, you said something that is key too, is as your circle gets tighter, and I say this to all the parents on that are watching or will watch, say to the three of us too, is like, even though the circle may be tight, it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
I was just talking to my second daughter about that. She's applying to college, and the question was about community. You have to make sure that the community, even though they're not the tight circle, the community around your son is breathing life and breathing confidence in him. Because in the example, we know there are coaches, there are people that will say the opposite. That, you know, it's like tough. It could be tough love, but to an athlete that's going through it, it can impact their confidence negatively. And I don't care what sport it is. If you don't have your confidence, no matter your skill or the hours you put in, it's a problem. It'll show up on the court or on the field.
You're right.
Yeah. And that's why one of the, I did a promo for this podcast. And one of the things I talked about is building your team, you know, having a good team. And so certainly our sons have mom and dad, right? And that's great, but we can only go so far.
Yes.
We can, you know, you need, like, that's why we talk to his coaches, you know, out of the blue. I'm saying, hey, coach, just checking on you, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. I was down in Madison. They invited me over. I want to make sure I be a part of the team. And sometimes I don't even have to be, hey, how's Jonathan doing, right? But it's great to have a community, again, still tight to your triangle. It's still going to be last name Blackwell, right? Anybody
that's what you end with. Yeah.
Blackwell team, but I can't be around Blackwell all the time. I mean, just recently, Jonathan wasn't feeling well. You know, we and I know we're overtime. We FaceTime all the time, but he was not going on FaceTime. So I told my husband, I need to lay eyes on my child. That next day I got on the plane. I cooked for him. I made sure he was good. And I was wearing the mommy hat. Everybody can't serve to be a mommy, right? And so when I left, coach, you do what you do. I just wanted to be a mommy for that moment. So I can only give him so much. We have to, parents have to build a community. Stay tight with the triangle. Absolutely. This is the guardrails.
Absolutely.
But also, like I told Todd, hey, Todd, you know, we were talking, do you give advice on girlfriends? You know, stay focused. Can you talk to him about this? I'm going to call the troops or the squad, the people in the huddle, to have those conversations that he may not receive from mommy, right?
That's
like
true.
I use the example, mommy been telling him, you got to eat right, you got to feed your body. It was Todd in that environment Todd put him in.
Wow.
Back, he was a man, and part of that was he changed his diet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's to Jillian, your point, it's even for the position that I'm in, you know, I'm in my mid 40s, you know, relatability is key.
Yeah.
So sometimes a client may not, you know, they think I'm so far removed from what it is to be 21 or 23 or 25. Well, a lot of times I got to, you know, as they say, when you're raising your kids, you want to get on your knee and see them eye to eye.
Yeah.
Standing over them because it's intimidating.
Right.
Like that with my clients, it's like sharing unique stories, even personal experiences, to where they may laugh about it, which a lot of them laugh at me about it, but then they shake their head like, okay, Todd knows, like, times may change, but certain things
remain the same.
So that's crucial as well. But again, having that community that are extensions of both of you is critical, what I've observed in terms of the development of an athlete in their sport. And again, I pull from my own experiences, because in a lot of ways I got the reverse. I did not have the staffs that instilled the confidence.
Wow.
You know, it just is what it is, because it's big business. College sports is big business. Those coaches have to win. And I love my staff and coaches. The other side is I didn't know how hard I had to work. Right? Somebody could tell you, but are they showing you as an adult or as a coach?
Yeah.
So you know, when those are some of the things, like I said, that I tend to analyze, and I look at the unique circumstances of a client to say, like, how would they receive the information so that it benefits them? Because how he receives it is different than somebody in similar circumstances, same age, and so forth, that has to receive it a different way.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, Eric and I can go for another hour.
We could.
Right. You certainly have family. Thank your beautiful wife for allowing you to hang out with us. Oh, actually, it's late for you, so we got another hour. You're 3 hours. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I just had the conversation. I didn't even know the first hour flew by.
And that's how good the flow is on Moms in the Huddle, because we will try to bring as much great things out of the guests that do come. But I do have one last question, Jillian. I ask it every time you leave. Your journey in one word.
Gratifying, you know.
Beautiful.
I love
it. And if somebody said, Todd, like that, you know, anytime you get to help raise young men, and where you see them coming into, like, them talking about their dream, advising them on their dream, and then seeing that growth where they go from being single to girlfriends that you meet that turn into fiancés, wives, kids, and they're set for life.
Wow.
That is, you know, it's great to sign the big contracts, but it's about seeing how those big contracts impact an individual, whether they're from the US, from Canada, from Africa, Europe. And like I said, it's everybody has different measures of success. It's participating in that. And then also having the clients repeat things that you told them years ago.
Wow, that's good.
That is what it's all about for me. That means we're doing a good job.
Yeah, and Todd, you said they're set for life. You're talking about generations of that set for life. So that's certainly gratifying that I played a part in not just this generation in 2025, but perhaps 15, 20, 25 years from now. If they do it right, not only their children, their children's children should be set up for life.
I make sure they do it right, because like I said, talking to them, helping them manifest those things, you have to help them speak it into existence. That's why our call with Jonathan, it was like, how many years do you want to play? What kind of contracts? Do you want to be an all-star? Okay, we got to reverse engineer it, because it's their dream, not mine.
Right.
Their parents, they need the support. Like, I've represented enough clients or have personal experience to know what it entails for them to not only reach the success in terms of playing the sport that they love or signing the contracts, is how do they take those opportunities and multiply them, right? Or how So again, that's part of the psychology of having those conversations. Of, I talked to one of my clients, I'm like, you're going to be a billionaire.
Wow.
Because he will be a billionaire. It's not rocket science to know what contracts he has the opportunity to earn. And if he saves enough and has the right financial advisors, which he does, because we've supported him in choosing them, he should be a billionaire by the time he's 60.
Wow. No, Todd, you know your new name now. You're going to be called the PSA.
The PSA?
The prophetic sports agent.
I love that.
I'll take
You're
that.
the PSA. You are the PSA, because you said a lot of prophetic things on here that when you connect, you know, man, it's just good information. We're eating. I like to eat like that, eat knowledge on things. So you are the PSA now, Todd.
Well, I appreciate that, Erica. But if I'm prophetic in any ways, I tell you, I know, Glenn, I can't just jump off. I know subjects, I got it recorded, but I appreciate the reminder.
That would be Blackwell. I had no idea.
What up, Blackwell?
On a basketball game.
And that, you know, look, Glenn has a son that's a client, and he is telling me about another client.
Wow.
So how can I not be grateful for that my extended family is family and support? Like, there's so many things that I could talk about that. But again, that's what life represents as an agent. It's greater than just, getting the contracts or doing the deal. It's really, like I said, building this community and being an architect for these young men, and then having them support one another. Having that.
Well, can I just end with this one last thing? You talked about prophetic. So just how Todd and our family met. So as you know, our family, Glenn's family runs a nonprofit called the Reggie McKenzie Foundation. Glenn this year will be running next year will be running a basketball camp for 36 years. Years ago, when Glenn was playing in Cyprus, he met a young man in high school who played basketball. And he played so well that Glenn said, hey, you should come to my camp in the United States. His mom said yes. He came over all the way from Cyprus, not only played at the Reggie McKenzie Foundation camp, but the next week played at the University of Michigan basketball camp, right? Did that, went back, stayed, actually, a coach, I can't remember what high school. Do you remember the high school?
I don't.
Okay, some high school here in Detroit saw this kid, was like, you're a decent player. You should ask your mom, can you stay in the United States and play? Wow. Asked his mom said, I think he went back, came back and played high school. Got a scholarship to play basketball in Ohio. Went back to Cyprus, started an agency. I'm saying this part right, because this part is fuzzy. Started an agency and kept in contact with my husband, right? Todd and this gentleman meet up. Dorbs, that agency that's in Cyprus now, Todd has not only U.S. representation and now international representation. My husband keep up. I think him and Glenn they start talking. Glenn finds a client. Hey, I think I got a guy who may want to play basketball. Our son is coming up. So 2020, it is COVID. I think it was 2020.
It's COVID.
We take a vacation in California. Our boys want to get in the gym. We call this guy named Todd. Todd doesn't know us. Todd wanted to open up a gym for us. Like everything is shut down. They find a gym. We go into our boys get to play. Fast 4 years later, we're talking to Alex, that little boy that came from the United States, says, "Hey, Jonathan's looking for an agency." Glenn's like, "This is a no-brainer." That's prophetic. Ordered steps.
Todd, PSA.
Well, I'll tell you this, for me to be at my best, I always need my clients to listen. I always say that. For me to be prophetic, I need them to listen. If they listen, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
my husband is a much better storyteller than I am, but I think I got the piece.
Jillian,
right.
What are you talking about? We love your story. I love your story.
That was good. Yeah. You connected the dots.
It's so blessed me, and it doesn't matter what we think. It was great that my husband met Jonathan, loves Todd and Alexis. He loves them.
Wow.
So
that is awesome.
Yeah. So we love you.
Jillian, even after I told him to get a haircut.
Yeah. And Todd, he has to love you to cut. That's like, who was the guy? I should know this in the Bible. I should know this.
Samson.
That was like a Samson move.
Samson.
But the difference is he got more powerful after
he got more powerful after that. I love it.
He sure did.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna have to use that.
Oh,
He did. With the ability, he sure did.
Got strong, came back a little. I said, "You got a little muscle." I tell him this all the time, Todd. I tell him, I said, my husband had a much better body than you. He's like, "Mom, no, he didn't."
Oh, yeah.
You're expecting to say that, Jillian. I hope so.
That's what I'm saying. Right. That baby like, Mom, really? Okay.
Right. But we can go on and on. Thank you, Todd, so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's an honor.
This was amazing, and hopefully, again, once we get it out there, a lot of parents will have some of their questions answered.
Yeah.
Well, tell us where people can reach you, Todd, if they want to reach you.
Yeah, so it depends. If from an NIL perspective, they can reach me at nil@lifesportsagency.com.
Okay.
That's the best way. Our handle on Instagram is @lifesportsagency. They can also connect with me, Todd Ramasar. I wish they could see my name on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
So those are, and our website is lifesportsagency.com.
Awesome.
Okay, we'll definitely make sure everyone get that information. But thank you so much, Todd, for coming.
Thank you, ladies. Yeah,
Have
well, you have a wonderful evening. Till next time.
You.
And good luck to your team too.
All right, go watch the game.
Yep.
Yes, go watch that game with that baby, Cedric.
All right.
All right.
Jillian, girl, we
good.
always say we're not going over. We always say 45 minutes. Jillian, we always go like an hour and 30 because of the information that is being offered, that it just be so good. It's like I say, it's rich. It's so rich information.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I enjoy our episodes, but it's also more enjoyable when you really know the person. And so so it was very good. I'm excited about further partnering with Life Sports Agents. They have a great team. They have
well, we got to bring him back on. Since he's the prophetic sports agent now. He got a lot of things. He's calling those things that be not as though it were. We need things like that for a lot of our parents, our viewers, because sometimes people do lose hope in what they're going through. You need a good sports agent to say, hey, as long as you got that hard work going, we got your back. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
But you got you have a marketing moment for us today, correct?
I do. Let me pull my marketing moment up. Where is my marketing moment? Give me 1 second. I was navigating over here. So one of the things that we talk about, actually, let me pull it up 1 second. I said to myself,
thank you, Natasha. She said you can't help it. You all have great guests with a wealth of knowledge. We do. Thank you, Natasha, for always joining us.
Yes, appreciate it. So our Moms in the Huddle marketing tip for student athletes is community is your brand. I love the work that you guys are doing with Shamaj Morgan Foundation. Jonathan actually on next week is partnering with the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Madison. And so before NIL deals, we talked about that a lot, or sponsorships, ever show up, people invest in your story and your impact. Brands and fans want to see how you show up, not just the game day, but in your own community, in your own backyard. It pains me when people become successful and they can't give back, and they don't give back.
And you see them no more.
And you don't see them anymore. So if you are a student athlete, whether you're in high school or college, or even if we're speaking to pros, get involved, volunteer at programs, visit your old school, support local businesses, or host a free clinic, or give. You can give financially. Like every time you pour back into your community, you build authentic influence. That's a brand. And that's what attracts real opportunity. So again, remember that serve first, shine second. Your community is your greatest marketing platform. So again, as I stated, the Reggie McKenzie Foundation has been in existence over 50 years.
Wow, that's impressive.
Seattle, he came back, not just to Detroit, he came back to Highland Park, and every year show up and give back to their community, pull in some of those athletes. And guess who came out of the Reggie McKenzie Foundation? Jerome Betters, Pepper Johnson, all these kids. And what did they do? They started their own foundation. And so that is the jewel. That is the thing that you have to remember. You can shine, but your shine should be within your community. So serve first, shine second.
I love that. That's beautiful. Because your community is who supports you.
Yeah,
that's right.
They were in the stands. They were there. They knew you. I mean, I think about the gentleman. Want to say Andrew. He showed up. He's always commenting and posting on anything that I post on Facebook. So he's always supported Jonathan in high school. He's just a great guy. I love this gentleman, and so I
Andre Charity,
So he's a part of the community. So that was a blessing that he had a chance to comment. But community, shine, but serve. You got to be a servant within your own community.
Oh yes. Well, We've had a great show. We don't want to hold anyone longer, but I will say, I forgot to say at the beginning, like, comment, and subscribe to Moms in a Huddle, where we're going to bring great shows. No parent stands alone in a huddle. Me and Jillian, we're going to be revamping some things. We're going to be doing a lot of other great things, bringing great shows to you. We're working on some stuff. So just stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We got October almost on lock. We're working on November. We got some great things.
Yes. Well. I'm working on getting some, one of our guests on. I don't want to put it out there yet, but we're working on getting a guest on that's going to be talking about injuries within football. I am working on getting Amir Bellamy, in which she's Coach Ron Bellamy. He's the wide receiver coach at University of Michigan, and she's a wife. See, we want to talk to them too in a huddle, and also Coach Consula's wife. I'm working on getting them on the show because I think that we need to get aspects from wives that are coaches and see how their perspective and how they feel, so we will be hearing from a lot more people. We're working on dealing and getting mental health experts back in here as we navigate some holidays that are coming up, different things that are happening. And for the most part, Moms in a Huddle, don't sleep on us because we're going to keep it real.
Yes, we are. I love it. I love it.
All right. I love you too, Jillian. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. One of the best shows that we're working on, Jillian. And me and Jillian is super excited to do it. So for all you girls out there that love God, we're bringing a show to you called Unapologetically God's Girls. Yes. You just got to tune into that show.
You got to tune in.
You got to tune in.
7, and that will be my birthday. So we're going to celebrate the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. The only reason why we're here. Only reason why. If you pay attention to our logo, this was Erica's idea. Look at this logo. You see that light at the top of Moms?
Yeah.
That's the Holy Spirit watching us, watching over us. Yeah. It's going to be faith in prayer. It's going to be, listen, we can start preaching, but
I know, Jillian.
The only reason our children are where they are and protected, and we keep praying for them, is because we are unapologetically God's
girls.
That's it.
All right. Have a blessed one, everybody.
All right.
Talk to you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.